I used to think that if I loved hard enough, I could cross the chasm of class. But when I saw him being forced to drink until he bled for me at a business dinner, I realized my lot was just a quicksand dragging him down. So I took his father's trek, and even hugged another woman in front of him. She asked me, eyes red, why I was smiling. Lie jerk. Because only if I became a complete scumbag could she go back to being the proud Miss Lou of the elite circle. I looked at the 5 million trek in front of me. Without hesitation, I tore it into pieces, and threw them into the ashtray before me. The middle-aged man sitting across from me didn't flinch. He just took a sip of his black coffee. His eyes held a condescending pity. He was Lu Jinting, the richest man in the capital's elite circle, and also Lu Ruyan's biological father. Su Qing, you have backbone. Lu Jinting set down his coffee cup. His tone was as calm as if discussing the weather. But backbone is worthless in the face of reality. You think I came today to throw money at you lie in a TV drama, to make you leave my daughter? I clenched my fist so hard, my nails nearly dug into my flesh. I gritted my teeth and said, Chairman Lu, I love Ruyan, and Ruyan loves me. I may be poor now, but I'm starting a business. I will definitely give her a good life in the future. A good life. Lu Jinting laughed as if he'd heard a joke. He pulled a manila envelope from his briefcase and threw it right in my face. Photos scattered across the table. I only glanced at them, and my heart felt like it had been smashed by a heavy hammer. I couldn't even breathe. In the photos, Lu Ruyan, wearing an ill-fitting, cheap business suit, was bending over, humbly toasting a bald, pot-bellied man. In another photo, she was squatting on the curb outside a club, vomiting her guts out, her face as pale as paper. This is from last month, when your shabby studio's funding chain broke. She hid it from you and begged Mr. Li for investment. Lu Jinting's voice cut into my eardrums like a knife. Su Qing, look at what she's become. What was she like before? She was the most dazzling white swan of the elite circle. Wherever she went, she was adored and pampered. And now, for your pathetic pride and broken dreams, she's groveling like a hostess. I was trembling all over, my eyes instantly red, staring at the photo of Lu Ruyan, tears and snot streaming down her face. I felt like my throat was stuffed with broken glass. I couldn't say a word. Because of you, I cut off all her cards. I revoked her position in the family business. Lu Jinting stood up and straightened his suit. If she stays with you, she won't just lose her status as the Lu family heir. She'll be blacklisted by the entire circle. Su Qing, you say you lop her. Is your lop watching her fall from the clouds into the mud, eating chaff and enduring humiliation with you? If you truly lop her, get lost on your own. Don't make me do it. And don't make her the sinner caught in between. Lu Jinting was gone for a long time. I was still sitting in the chair. Tears finally fell onto the table, blurring Lu Ruyan's pale face in the photo. I'm not afraid of poverty or hardship. But how could I let the girl I treasure lie a jewel, suffer like this for me? At 10 in the evening, I returned to the tiny studio apartment we rented outside the 5th Ring Road, less than 40 square meters. I pushed open the door. The room was filled with the aroma of pork rib soup. Lu Ruyan, wearing that faded pink apron, was carrying a clay pot out of the cramped kitchen. When she saw me, her eyes lit up. She gave me a tired but radiant smile. Honey, you're back. Go wash your hands. The supermarket had a ZO on pork ribs today. I made your favorite corn and pork rib soup. Looking at her unsuspecting smile, all I could see in my mind were the photos from earlier today, of her squatting by the roadside, vomiting. My heart ached like it was being ground up in a meat grinder. What's wrong? Why are you just standing there? You have to eat, even if starting a business is tiring. She came over and touched my face. Frowning slightly, she said, why do you look so terrible? Did you hit another dead end with investors today? It's okay, Su Qing. I can take on a few more freelance jobs. We'll have enough money to get through this. Ruyan. I pulled her tightly into my arms. With so much force, I wished I could merge her into my bones. Oh, the soup is going to get cold. She gently patted my back, like coaxing a child. Su Qing, I know you're under a lot of pressure, but as long as we're together, we can get through anything. When we have money later, we'll buy a big house on the 3rd Ring Road, and get a golden retriever, okay? I buried my face in the crook of her neck, biting my lip hard to keep from crying out loud, but tears kept rolling down in big drops, falling onto her collar. Okay, my ass. I can't even let her have a decent meal. How can I buy her a big house? With my life? My life means nothing to the Lu family. I let her go, forcing a smile that was uglier than crying. My voice was hoarse. Okay, whatever you say. Let's eat first. This meal tasted like cardboard to me. Lu Ruyan kept putting ribs on my plate, but only drank the soup herself. I looked at her gaunt face and the tiredness she couldn't hide around her eyes. A decision in my heart grew like a poisonous weed. After dinner, she went to wash the dishes. I sat on the sofa, watching her busy back. Lu Ruyan, you were meant to be a highborn lady. You were never meant to touch cold water. I'm sorry, I've been holding you back. If my lop has become a death sentence for you, then I'd rather cut it off myself. At 2 in the morning, the rental room was so quiet, I could only hear Lu Ruyan's steady breathing. I carefully lifted the blanket, walked to the balcony and lit a cheap cigarette. The cold wind cut my face like a knife. I took out my phone and called my best friend, Lin Hao. The phone rang for a long time before it was answered. Lin Hao's voice came through, thick with sleep. Hey, Qingzi, what's up in the middle of the night? What happened? I took a deep drag of my cigarette, letting the nicotine numb my nerves. I said in a low voice, Haozi, help me with something. What is it? Is the studio short on money again? Bro, I still have 20,000 here. I'll transfer it to you tomorrow. Lin Hao didn't hesitate. It's not about money. I paused, my voice trembling a little. Haozi, find me a woman. The line went silent instantly. After a few seconds, Lin Hao's voice shot up an octave. Su Qing, what the hell are you talking about? Find a woman? Are you crazy? What about Ruyan? It's for her that I have to do this. I closed my eyes, letting the tears fall. But my tone was as cold as ice. I'm going to cheat. I'm going to let Ruyan see me in bed with another woman. I'm going to make her completely give up on me. I'm going to make her hate me for life. Are you sick in the head? Lin Hao yelled into the phone. What the hell is going on? You and Ruyan are so good together. What hurdle can't you get over? Why do you have to put on this shitty show? Lu Jinting came to see me today. Haozi, you don't know how much Ruyan has suffered for me. She was kicked out of the Lu family. She had to go toast those old perverts for investment. She vomited until even bile came out. I suppressed my voice, almost grinding my teeth as I spoke. I can't keep her anymore. If I don't leave, she'll die in this quicksand with me. She's stubborn. If I just break up with her, she'll definitely give up everything to come find me. Even cut ties with the Lu family. Only if she thinks I'm a scumbag, a rotten person who sells his feelings for money, will she truly let go and go back to her own world. On the other end of the line, Lin Hao was silent for a long time. Are you really sure about this? This is a point of no return. From now on, in Ruyan's eyes, you'll be a complete bastard. I'm sure. I stubbed out the cigarette on the railing, leaving a black burn mark. Set it up for me. The sooner, the better. Find a girl who can act and is willing to go all out. This show has to be so realistic it makes her sick. Oh cool, I'll find someone. Lin Hao's voice was trembling. I hung up the phone. I turned and looked at Lu Ruyan, sleeping soundly in the bedroom. Moonlight filtered through the curtain gap onto her face, peaceful and beautiful. I'm so Ruyan, this is the last thing I can do for you. 3 days later was the 3rd anniversary of my relationship with Lu Ruyan. She hid it from me. Used the money she'd saved for half a year to buy a pair of cheap rings. Full of joy, she pushed open the door of a budget hotel room, wanting to surprise me. But what greeted her was me and another naked woman, and a bed full of messy clothes. The creak of the door opening, like a rusty saw blade, tearing through my nerves. Lu Ruyan stood at the door, still holding that cheap red velvet box. No screams, no accusations, not even tears. She just stood there quietly, her eyes as empty as a dry well. Ruyan, I instinctively wanted to push the woman beside me away, but reason took over first, and slapped me hard. I gritted my teeth, forced myself to hold on to the trembling actress. A cheap, cold smile twisted my lips. Since you've seen it, I don't need to say much. Why? Her voice was so light, it could be blown away by a breeze. For the money. I suddenly raised my voice, putting on an impatient, bastardly act. Your dad gave me a trek for 5 million. 5 million. With you, I eat pork rib soup every day, and it takes you half a year to save up for a cheap ring. I'm sick of this poor life. Lu Ruyan looked down at the box in her hand and suddenly laughed. She slipped the silver ring onto her ring finger. It didn't fit. She pushed it down hard. The metal cut her skin. Blood immediately seeped out. Then she pulled it off with force. Slap. The blood-stained ring hit my face, leaving a cold, red mark. Su Qing, you make me sick. She turned around, her back resolute, without a hint of looking back. The moment the door closed, I pushed the woman beside me away, stumbled and crawled into the bathroom, and vomited all the bile from my stomach into the toilet. Tears mixed with bile, bitter enough to drive a person mad. An hour later, I was standing in the top-floor presidential office of the Lu Corporation building. Lu Jinting sat in his large executive chair, playing with a cigar in his hand, his eyes full of mockery. Fast work. I heard she just went home with red eyes, locked herself in her room. Where's the trek? I stared at him. My voice was hoarse, not sounding like my own. Lu Jinting let out a cold laugh, pulled a thin piece of paper from his drawer, and tossed it casually onto the table. 5 million. Go buy back your conscience. Remember your promise. Get the hell out of her world forever. I stepped forward, picked up the trek, stained with humiliation. Chairman Lu, consider this money a loan from you. I gripped the trek, my knuckles turning white. One day, I will pay you back in a way you can't imagine. Young man, ambition is good, but in the face of capital, you're less than an ant. He blew out a smoke ring contemptuously. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. Walking out of the revolving doors of the Loop Corporation building, the afternoon sun was so bright it hurt my eyes. The streets were bustling with traffic, but I felt a chill all over. Suddenly, a warm sensation surged in my nose. Drip. A drop of blood fell onto the trek in my hand. Then a second, a third. I wiped at it dazedly. But it only spread more. My vision started to blur. A sharp pain, like being churned by a meat grinder, hit my stomach. Sir. Sir. Are you okay? The shouts of passers-by seemed to come from far away. Then the whole world plunged into endless darkness. When I woke up, the first thing I saw was the harsh, cold white light. The air was thick with the pungent smell of disinfectant. Lin Hao sat by the bed, his eyes red. Lie a rabbit. Qingzi, you're awake. His voice was trembling. In his hand, he clutched a piece of paper tightly. What happened to me? I propped myself up. My chest felt tight. Where's Ruyan? She didn't forget about Ruyan. Lin Hao suddenly broke down. He slammed the paper onto my lap. Look for yourself. Look. I froze for a moment, then picked up the diagnosis. Advanced poorly differentiated adenocarcinoma of the stomach. I read the words out loud, as if reading someone else's shitari. The doctor said it was discovered too late. The cancer has metastasized. Lin Hao covered his face, his shoulders shaking violently. At most 6 months. Su Qing, you bastard. Why do you have to carry this alone? 6 months. Only 6 months. I didn't cry. I didn't even feel a trace of fear. I just stared quietly at the bedside table, at the 5 million trek stained with my nosebleed. Originally, I planned to take this money and leave the city. After Ruyan took over the Lu family, I would secretly return it to Lu Xinting. But now, even God has blocked my escape route. Howzy? I took a deep breath, my eyes gradually burning with a fierce madness. What is it? Lin Hao asked, his eyes still red. Looking up. Open an offshore securities OTSAO for me. I grabbed the trek and used every cent of this money. I'm going to dump all 5 million into the short market with 10 times leverage. Are you crazy? Lin Hao jumped up, the chair scraping loudly against the floor. That's high leverage options. If it blows up, you won't even have money for a coffin. I'm already a dead man walking. What do I have to fear from a blow-up? I stared at him. Lia Wolf backed into a corner. My voice carried a chilling ruthlessness. I'm betting my 6 months of life. I'm going to use this 5 million to carve a bloody path through this devouring capital market. Before I die, I'm going to build a throne for Ruyan, one that even Lu Xinting can only look up to. You. Lin Hao was stunned by the madness in my eyes, speechless for a long time. Go open the OTSAO. I yanked the 4 needle out of my hand, letting the blood seep out. Do you want to see me lie in a hospital bed and wait to die like a coward? Lin Hao gritted his teeth, tears hitting the floor. He nodded heavily. Oh cool, I'll go crazy with you. I turned my head and looked out the window at the darkening sky. Ruyan, you once fell into the mud for me. Now, let me use this worthless life to send you back to the clouds, even if it means being shattered to pieces. 6 months later. Beep, beep, beep. The sound of the heart monitor was especially harsh in the dim room. I bit down hard on a towel. Cold sweat soaked through my hospital gown. Chemotherapy drugs slowly dripped into my veins. That feeling was like someone pouring a bottle of sulfuric acid into my bone marrow, leaving nothing but destruction in its wake. Qingzi, this hot stock has gone up another 5 points. Those old foxes on Wall Street are testing our limits. Lin Hao stared at the 6 large LCD screens on the wall, his fingers flying across the keyboard. The clacking was like rapid drumbeats. Should we close the position? We've already made 6 billion in unrealized gains. I spat out the towel, which had several holes bitten into it. A cold smile twisted my pale face. Close my ass. You think 6 billion is enough to make me stop? I took a deep breath of the blood-tinged air. My voice was hoarse but brooked no argument. Max out the leverage and keep hammering. I want to make them lose their shirts. Madman. You're a complete and utter madman. Lin Hao cursed. But his hands didn't stop. The order was sent. Those people in the elite circle, if they knew that the mysterious capital tycoon who's been wreaking havoc in Asian financial circles lately, Mr. Ping, is a cancer patient who can barely stand, they'd probably be shocked speechless. 6 months, 180 days and nights. I used that 5 million as principal. In the futures and options markets, lie a starving stray dog, biting anyone I saw. Every move was a walk on a cliff's edge, betting not just money, but my dwindling lifespan. But I won. Tens of billions in capital became the sharpest knife in my hand. Bang! The door was pushed open. Lin Hao's assistant ran in. handing over an encrypted file. Lin Hao only glanced at it. His face instantly changed. Qingzi, we have a problem. He spun his chair to face me. His eyes were complex enough to make my heart pound. The Liu family is about to go bankrupt. I jerked my head up. The 4-tube pulled at my vein, sending a sharp pain through me, but I didn't even notice. Explain. Bald Li, the one Ruyan had to toast for half a year ago. He's teamed up with 3 overseas hedge funds. They're shorting the Liu group. Lin Hao threw a report onto my bed. That old bastard Liu Shinting embezzled company funds to expand. Now the funding chain is completely broken. Bald Li put out the word that if he wants him to stop. Unless what? My eyes were cold enough to freeze ice. Unless Liu Shinting gives Ruyan to him. The engagement party is tonight. Lin Hao gritted his teeth, his eyes full of rage. I started coughing violently. A metallic taste rose in my throat. A mouthful of black blood sprayed onto the white sheets. Qingzi. Lin Hao was horrified. He frantically grabbed tissues to wipe it up. I'm fine. I pushed him away. Wiped the blood from my mouth carelessly, staring at the screen. Where's Ruyan? What did she say? She's changed completely in the last 6 months. Cold and ruthless. The whole elite circle knows the Liu family has iron-fisted female 11io. She's no longer the naive sweetheart who would cook for you. Lin Hao sighed and played a recording. This was recorded by a servant I bribed in the Liu household. Listen for yourself. After the static, Liu Shinting's furious roar came through the speakers. Liu Ruyan. You're living off the Liu family. The company is about to go bankrupt. All you have to do is sleep with Mr. Li for 1 night. Sign a marriage agreement. And the Liu family can survive. What's so hard about that? A cold laugh, bitter and piercing. It was Ruyan's voice. Liu Shinting. When you were embezzling funds, why didn't you think about this? Now that the Liu family is in trouble, you want to use your own daughter to fill the hole? Her voice was devoid of any emotion, as if talking to a stranger. You want me to marry that bald old pervert? Fine. You can carry my corpse there. You're rebelling. Lock her in her room. No one is to let her out until the engagement party starts tonight. The recording cut off abruptly. My heart felt like it was being crushed by an invisible hand. The pain was so intense I could barely breathe. That girl of mine, who used to cry at the sight of a stray cat. What has she been through in these 6 months? To become this cold, prickly version of herself? Was it because of me? Because of that cruel betrayal half a year ago? That made her completely shut down her heart. There's one more thing. Lin Hao hesitated, his face anxious. That servant said, before Ruyan was locked in her room, she secretly smashed a glass, and hid a sharp piece of glass in her sleeve. Qingzi, she might try to kill herself at the engagement party. Boom. A thunderclap exploded in my mind. Better to die together. That fool would rather die than bow to this filthy fate. I switched the screen to the Liu Group's debt network. I struggled to pull the 4 needle out of my hand. A string of blood droplets followed, but I didn't care anymore. I stumbled to the computer, bracing my hands on the desk, my knuckles white from the pressure. Qingzi, what are you going to do? Lin Hao's eyes widened. Buy him out. I stared at the tangled web of debt lines on the screen. My voice was as hoarse as sandpaper. Buy all of Bald Li's claims on the Liu family, and all the Liu shares being dumped on the market, at any cost. Are you crazy? That's a bottomless pit. It'll cost at least 3 billion. I said all of it. Don't you understand plain English? I whipped my head around, my eyes bloodshot as I roared at him. I made this money for her. If she dies, what good is this tens of billions in assets, as a burial offering? The room was dead silent, only the hum of the computer's power supply could be heard. Lin Hao gave me a long, hard look, then gritted his teeth. Fine. 3 billion, I'll buy it all. But you better be ready. This is going to be a bloodbath. Within 10 minutes, I'll turn Bald Li's debt into worthless paper. The sound of keyboard clacking rang out like a storm. Amid waves of dizziness, I watched the red debt lines of the Liu family on the screen, slowly being devoured and covered by green capital flow. Every second, tens of millions were burning away, and my stomach felt like it was on fire. Sharp pains surged through my sanity wave after wave. My vision began to blur. Low acquisition complete. The system's mechanical voice sounded like heavenly Miodike. Qingzi, it's done. All of the Liu family's debts are now under Mr. Q's name. Lin Hao let out a long sigh of relief, wiping the cold sweat from his forehead. Even if Bald Li wants to control Liu Jinting now, he doesn't have the leverage anymore. I looked at the final confirmed transaction screen, a smile finally curling at the corner of my mouth. I sneered and pressed the enter key, locking in the last transfer agreement. But the next second, a violent cramp in my stomach made me collapse weakly to the floor, coughing up another mouthful of black blood onto the floor. A shocking sight. Qingzi. Doctor, call a doctor. Lin Hao panicked and rushed over to help me. Don't. I grabbed his wrist tightly, my nails almost digging into his flesh. What time is it? 6:30 p.m. Lin Hao's eyes were red. The engagement banquet starts at 7. Your condition needs surgery immediately. Can't wait any longer. To hell with surgery. I forced myself up against the wall, slowly straightening my body. Get me a suit. The most expensive one. You're going to the scene? Are you trying to kill yourself? Lin Hao looked at me in disbelief. You'll pass out before you even reach the door looking like this. He's still waiting for me in hell. I wiped the blood from my mouth, looking at the mirror at the gaunt figure, with a face pale as paper, but eyes burning fiercely. Even if I die on the road today, I'll drag him back to the living world. I stumbled toward the dressing room, leaving Lin Hao kicking the ground in frustration. Changing into that pure black custom suit, I tucked the debt transfer document stamped with Mr. Q's seal into the inner pocket. That thin piece of paper carried half a year of my blood and tears, and also Lu Ruyan's future freedom. Chairman Li, Lu Shinting, you thought you could trample his dignity? Tonight, I'll show you what real capital crushing means, what true despair is. Howsy, the car. I pushed open the door, cold wind rushing into my collar, but I felt no chill. The blood in my veins was burning with madness. Where to? To crash the wedding. I coldly spat out 3 words. No one touches my girl tonight. Even if I'm already a dead man. The Rolls-Royce Phantom screeched to a halt at the Grand Hotel. I pushed open the car door, my stomach feeling like it was full of barbed wire. The violent cramping made my vision go dark. I clenched my molars tightly, forcing down the blood surging into my throat. The metallic taste instantly filled my mouth. Qingzi, the painkillers will only last an hour at most. Lin Hao got out from the other side, his face anxious as he growled. Su Wan is already waiting in the lobby. Are you sure you have to bring her in? That's Ruyan's thorn. Det. I coldly spat out 1 word, tugging at my pure black suit tie. If I don't push this thorn in deep, how can I make him completely give up on me? Stepping into the lobby, the actress who took my 50,000 yuan half a year ago to play a scene, Su Wan, was standing awkwardly by the fountain. Seeing me, she froze, clearly startled by my gaunt, yet intimidating appearance. Mr. Su. She took my arm. I extended my arm expressionlessly, my voice as cold as ice. Just smile no matter what you see later. I'll give you another 500,000 after this. Su Wan's eyes lit up, and she immediately wrapped around my arm like a snake. I endured the tearing pain in my stomach, step by step, walking toward the banquet hall on the 2nd floor. Dear guests, tonight is my engagement to Miss Lu Ruyan of the Lu family. Bald Li's nauseating voice came from inside. I peered through the half-open door, my heart clenching. Under the crystal chandelier, Lu Ruyan stood in a cheap, ill-fitting red dress, like a lifeless puppet frozen on stage. She had suffered so much. Her once round chin was now sharp, her eyes filled with dead despair. Bald Li grinned viciously, reaching out his greasy hand to touch her face. Ruyan, after tonight, I'll cover all the Lu family's bad debts. Just be good and serve me well. Just as his hand was about to touch Lu Ruyan, I caught a glimpse of her slightly raised right hand, a cold glint flashing from her sleeve. That piece of glass. This fool, she was actually planning to take that beast down with her in public. A surge of furious rage rushed to my head, burning away even the pain of my illness. Bang! I kicked the 2-meter-tall solid wood carved door hard. With a loud crash, the door burst open, the heavy panel slamming against the wall, shaking the crystal chandeliers in the hall. All noise in the hall stopped abruptly. Everyone's eyes instantly focused on me. I sneered, arm in arm with Su Wan's slender waist. In the dead silence, stepping through the scattered light, I strode boldly into this hypocritical arena. Su Qing, in the crowd, Lu Shinting's champagne glass fell to the floor with a crack, shattering into pieces. And on stage, the moment Lu Ruyan saw my face, she looked as if struck by lightning. Her gaze moved from my pale face, slowly to Su Wan on my arm, her pupils trembling violently. I clearly saw her already bloodless lips, bitten into blood in an instant. The piece of glass hidden in her sleeve fell with a clink onto the red carpet, shattering into powder. My heart ached like a knife, but on the surface, I smiled like a reckless jerk. Oh, Chairman Li, Chairman Lu, such a lively event. Why didn't you invite me? Security. Bald Li flew into a rage, pointing at me and cursing loudly. What stray dog dares to crash my party? Break his legs and throw him out. A dozen black-suited security guards rushed up. Who dares to move? Lin Hao stepped out from behind me, pulling a thick stack of documents from his briefcase, and threw them directly at Bald Li's fat face. Papers scattered like snowflakes. Li Guoqiang, suspected of stock market manipulation, forging contracts, tax evasion of 80 million, plus money laundering and illegal fundraising. These solid proofs are enough to put you away for life. Lin Hao pointed at his nose, his voice echoing through the hall. Bald Li froze, glancing down at the papers on the floor, his arrogant face turning pale instantly, his fat trembling uncontrollably. You, who are you people? These things, impossible, absolutely impossible. Is it real? You can explain to the police in jail. I pulled out a white silk handkerchief, covering my mouth, suppressing the bile rising in my throat again. As soon as I finished speaking, the banquet hall doors were pushed open again, and a team of fully armed economic police rushed in. The lead officer flashed his badge. Li Guiqiang, you are suspected of multiple economic crimes. Please come with us. A cold pair of handcuffs clicked around Bald Li's wrists. No, I'm innocent. Lu Zhenting, save me. Save me. Bald Li screamed like a stuck pig, being dragged out by the police. The hall was dead silent. You could hear a pin drop. Lu Zhenting swallowed his saliva, cold sweat beating on his forehead. He had been cornered by the Li family for half a year, and now seeing Bald Li fall instantly, first shocked, then a wild gleam of joy burst in his eyes. He rushed forward, looking at me and Lin Hao like a fawning old dog. Gentlemen, both gentlemen, thank you for saving us. May I ask which capital group you represent? Lin Hao sneered, looking at him with contempt. Lu Zhenting, prick up your dog ears, and listen well. This is the mastermind behind Global Capital, Mr. Q, who swept the Asian market. Mr. Q? A gasp of disbelief erupted from the crowd. For half a year, Mr. Q's name had thundered through the capital circle, a terrifying force even the four major conglomerates avoided. Lu Zhenting trembled with excitement, his old face wrinkling into a smile like a chrysanthemum. So you're Mr. Q. I've long admired you. Your reputation is like thunder. Your visit today not only saved my daughter, but also our entire Lu family. From now on, the Lu family will follow your lead. Saved you? I let out a scornful laugh, letting go of Su Wan, walking step by step to Lu Zhenting. I looked down at him, pulling out the freshly signed debt transfer document from my chest, and slapped it hard on his face. Look clearly. The 3 billion in debt from Li Guiqiang, plus all the scattered shares of the Lu Group on the market, are now all under my name. I bent slightly, my voice low like a demon crawling out of hell. Lu Zhenting, you now owe me 3 billion. Lu Zhenting's smile froze on his face. He tremblingly picked up the document, his face growing paler as he read. Finally, with a thud, his legs gave way, and in front of all the capital circle's elite, he knelt directly before me. Mr. Q, please be merciful. Give me a few more months. I'll sell everything I have, and pay you back. The once proud richest man of the capital circle, now cried like a beaten dog. Pay me back. I looked at him coldly. With what? Your life isn't worth a damn to me. I lifted my right foot in its handmade leather shoe, and kicked him hard in the knee. Lu Zhenting screamed, falling to the ground in a humiliating position, unable to get up for a long time. After dealing with this old dog, I finally turned to look at Lu Ruyan on stage. She still stood there, like a lifeless ice sculpture. Those eyes, once full of stars, now stared at me, churning with SOC, humiliation, confusion, and bone-deep hatred. I endured the tearing pain in my heart, step by step, walking up the steps to her. Looking at her up close, I realized how thin she had become. The once fitting red dress hung on her, loose, like a fancy sack. What? Don't recognize me after half a year? I curled my lips into a malicious smile, reaching out to grab her sharp chin, forcing her to look up at me. Her chin was cold, without a trace of warmth. Su Qing, she finally spoke, her voice hoarse and terrifying, each word squeezed through clenched teeth. Is it really you? You not only deceived my feelings, but also bought the Lu family? What else? Did you think manna would fall from heaven? I deliberately glanced at Su Wan below, then turned back, my eyes roving over her without restraint. Actually, that loser Bald Li wasn't fit to play such a big game. The Lu family's downfall was just me pushing a little behind the scenes. I painted myself as the mastermind behind the Lu family's tragedy. Only then would she truly hate me. Only hate could make her, in the days to come, lie on a weed, fiercely. Slap. Lu Ruyan used all her strength to slap me hard. That slap was fierce, making my already weak body stagger. Blood immediately seeped from the corner of my mouth, but I forced myself to stay steady, licking the bloody taste from my lips, smiling even more wildly. Good hit. But this slap counts as tonight's interest. From the inner pocket of my suit, I pulled out a pre-prepared document and a solid gold pen, roughly shoving them into her hand. What is this? She trembled, gripping the pen tightly, as if it were a knife. A contract of indenture. I leaned close to her ear, in a voice only we could hear, coldly declaring, I bought the Lu family. A daughter pays her father's debts. From today, you're my personal assistant, on call at all times, with no right to refuse. If you dare say no, I pointed at Lu Zhenting, lying like a dead dog on the floor. I guarantee that by sunrise tomorrow, Lu Zhenting will jump from the top of the Lu building, and you'll be working off that 3 billion debt in the red light district. Su Qing, you're a devil. Lu Ruyan's tears finally broke, rolling down her pale cheeks. She looked at me, the last glimmer of light in her eyes, completely shattered. She tremblingly signed her name on the contract, the pen tip tearing through the paper, the ink bleeding through. taking the document stained with her tears. I turned around, no longer able to suppress the churning in my stomach, quickening my steps toward the banquet hall door. Lin Hao, take Miss Liu back to my villa. Without my permission, she's not to step out the door. Leaving that cold command, I pushed open the door and rushed into the night, sitting in the back of the Rolls-Royce. The moment the door closed, I lunged forward onto the leather seat, vomiting a mouthful of black blood, splattering the pure white carpet. Ruyin. I clutched the fabric over my chest, curling up in pain. I saved you in the worst way possible. You must want to tear me apart, right? It's okay. Hate me. As long as you lie. As long as you can stand tall again. Even if I go to the 18th level of hell, I'll do it gladly. And in the wreckage of the banquet hall, Lu Ruyan clutched the broken pen, her nails digging deep into her flesh, blood dripping onto the red carpet. Splash. A cup of hot black coffee was mercilessly poured onto my chest. The dark brown liquid ran down my pure white custom shirt, burning through the fabric, sticking to my bony chest from the weight loss. A fiery sting spread instantly, but I didn't even frown. Oh, I'm so sorry, President Su. Lu Ruyan stood in front of the large mahogany desk, still holding the empty bone china cup. She wore a stiff black business suit, her long hair tied up high. Her face, once smiling at me, now only held icy venom and contempt. My hand slipped. That shirt looks expensive. You're not going to deduct it from my pitiful salary, are you? I sat in my office chair, watching her quietly. This was the 7th day since she became my personal assistant. For 7 days, she had been like a hedgehog with all its spikes up, using every clumsy, direct method to try to anger me, humiliate me. Hiding broken glass in documents, adding high-concentration salt to my water, even mocking me in front of company executives. She thought this could hurt me, but she didn't know. Seeing her lie this, fueled by hatred, alive and full of fight, only gave me a sick sense of relief. Hate me, Ruyan. Hatred is the best armor in this capital jungle. A shirt is nothing. I'm not petty enough to argue with a woman over it. I pulled out a tissue, slowly wiping the stain on my chest, then tossed a thick folder from the drawer, slamming it on the desk in front of her. What's this? She eyed the document warily, not reaching for it. The pot bankruptcy acquisition case for the Lee Group. I leaned back in my chair, my gaze cold, as if looking at a tool. Bald Lee is in jail, but his businesses aren't dead yet. This acquisition plan is full of holes. The financial data has been tampered with. I stepped forward, staring into her eyes with intense pressure. 3 days. I want a perfect takeover plan, including finding out who faked the accounts. Fail, and I'll cut off Lu Jinting's expensive medication, and send him to beg under the bridge. Su Qing, you're shameless. Lu Ruyan's eyes widened, her hatred almost tangible, wanting to tear me apart. Shameless, I sneered, tapping the desk. Assistant Lu, in the business world, it's eat or be eaten. If you can't even handle a mess like this, how do you expect to crush me? Take it back and redo it. Now get out. She bit her lower lip hard, turning white and bleeding, then grabbed the documents from the desk, turned, and slammed the door behind her. Watching the door close heavily, the strength I had been holding onto drained away. A violent cramp hit my stomach, like countless rusty knives churning inside. I opened the bottom drawer, poured out a handful of strong painkillers, and swallowed them dry, without even water. The pills scraped my throat, bringing a metallic taste. I pulled up the hidden surveillance feed on my computer. On the screen, Lu Ruyan sat at her assistant desk outside, crying, while frantically researching data and checking numbers. She didn't know that so-called mess was something I had spent 3 sleepless nights, coughing up blood twice, to create as a custom business tech for her. I had broken down the most complex financial traps and hidden equity structures, hidden inside. If she could overcome this hurdle, no one in the capital circle's business world could ever fool her again. I'm so Ruyan. I don't have time to teach you gently. My life is counting down by the day. Half a month later, late at night, 11 p.m., the top floor of Global Capital was still brightly lit. I pretended to be exhausted, carelessly tossing a file marked top secret onto the desk, then stood up and walked toward the restroom. I'm going in to sleep for half an hour. No interruptions for anything. The door was left ajar. I leaned against the cold wall of the restroom, watching the outside through my phone's surveillance. Within 5 minutes, Lu Ruyan crept in quietly. She glanced toward the restroom, then walked quickly to my desk, looking guilty. Her hands were shaking, but her eyes were resolute. She picked up the file, quickly photographed its contents with her phone. About Mr. Q's core investment strategy in the Asia-Pacific region for the next 3 years. After taking the photos, she put the file back exactly as it was. A cold, vengeful smile curling at her lips, then left. I smiled silently in the darkness, but a hot tear rolled down my cheek. Fool, you think you're stealing your enemy's secrets. Think you've finally got the leverage to kill me. But you don't know. Every word in that file was planned by me for you. A blueprint for the Lu family empire for the next 10 years. I calculated everything, even that you would betray me. As long as you take this plan to those overseas investors, the Lu family can completely turn things around. And I, the infamous Mr. Q, will be ruined by the leak. becoming the last stepping stone on your path to the throne. The intercom suddenly rang, breaking my thoughts. President Su, there's a storm warning tonight. Mr. Lin Hao is stuck in the East District. Your driver also called in sick. The secretary's voice sounded oddly loud in the quiet office. I pressed my aching stomach and walked out of the restroom, seeing Lu Ruyan packing her bag to leave. Assistant Lu, can you drive? I asked coldly. She paused, turning around, her eyes full of disgust. Det. Good. Drive me back to the villa. I picked up my suit jacket from the chair back. Don't forget your role. On call at all times. She didn't argue, just tightened her grip on the car keys, her knuckles turning white. The black Maybach sped through the storm. Huge raindrops slammed against the windshield, the wipers on full speed, but still couldn't clear the road ahead. The car was dead silent, only the hum of the air conditioning. Lu Ruyan gripped the steering wheel tightly, staring straight ahead, not even a glance spared for me. The Li family merger case. You handled it almost like a human being. I closed my eyes, leaning back against the passenger seat. My voice was so weak it was almost drowned out by the rain. But your methods are still too soft. When dealing with Bald Li's remnants, you should wipe them out completely, leave no loose ends. Su Qing, do you have to say these disgusting things to me right now? He slammed on the brakes hard. The car shook violently. You think I don't know you deliberately threw that mess at me? You just want to watch me struggle like a clown. You look down on me, look down on the Lu family. Think what you want. I can't be bothered to explain. The cramping in my stomach made even breathing difficult. Focus on driving. There's an intersection ahead. Slow down. Just then, a sudden change happened. Oh no. From the dark curtain of clouds on the right, a deafening engine roar suddenly erupted. Two blinding high beams, Li's swords, pierced through the rainstorm in an instant, heading straight for our car. It was a heavy dump truck. It had no lights on at all. Li, a steel beast lurking in the dark night. It only sped up when it was less than 50 meters away. With a suicidal posture, it rammed straight into the driver's seat. Bald Li's remnants. That thought flashed through my mind instantly. Bald Li is locked up. His criminal remnants are desperate. They want to drag Lu Ruyan, who took them over, to death with them. Lu Ruyan couldn't open her eyes from the glare. She let out a terrified scream. Her hands instinctively let go of the steering wheel. Her whole body froze in the driver's seat. There was no dodging that moment. Time seemed to stretch infinitely. I watched the left side getting closer. That steel beast, Li death descending. Without a moment's hesitation, I unbuckled my seatbelt. Ruyan, survive, I growled. I unleashed the last bit of strength in this broken body. I lunged to the left, almost pressing my whole body onto Lu Ruyan. I grabbed the steering wheel tightly, and yanked it hard to the right. A screeching tire sound was completely swallowed by the earth-shattering crash. The Maybach, under the massive impact, was flipped into the air like a toy box. The dump truck, originally aimed at Lu Ruyan's seat, slammed solidly into the passenger seat, where I was sitting. The world spun wildly. Shattered glass rained down on my face like hail. The roof behind me was severely deformed. The cold metal door pressed inward hard, digging straight into my ribs. With a crisp sound of bones breaking, I felt all my organs being crushed in that moment. The car rolled twice, finally landed upside down on the flooded road. Rain poured in through the broken windows, mixed with strong gasoline and pungent blood. I struggled to open my eyes. My vision was completely blurred by blood. I was pinned between the deformed passenger seat and the roof. My lower body had completely lost feeling. A sharp piece of metal was stuck in my chest. Every breath brought soul-tearing pain. Su Qing, came Lu Ruyan's trembling voice from beside me. Because I had yanked the wheel and used myself as a shield, she only had minor scratches. She struggled to unbuckle her seatbelt. In the narrow, dark cabin, she desperately crawled toward me. Su Qing, don't scare me. Her hand touched the warm liquid on my face. By the dim street light outside, she finally saw the blood on her hand. Don't touch me. I weakly tried to push her away. I didn't want her to see me lie this, so disgusting. But I didn't even have the strength to lift my hand. The cancer beast inside me, suppressed by drugs for half a year, finally erupted completely in that moment. I opened my mouth to tell her to run, but what came out was a mouthful of black blood mixed with organ fragments. Blood sprayed out, instantly staining her pure white dress she had just put on today. Horrifying. No, why so much blood? What's wrong with you? Lu Ruyan completely broke down. She looked at the blood all over the car, at the terrifying hole in my chest. The hatred in her eyes collapsed instantly, replaced by extreme terror and panic. She desperately tried to pull out the metal fragment, but didn't dare to. She tried to cover the blood gushing from my mouth, but it was like a bursting dam. Unstoppable. Why did you switch over just now? Don't you hate me? Don't you only lot money, you bastard? Don't die. I order you not to die. She wailed loudly. Tears and rain hit my face, washing away the blood on my face. I looked at her face so close, at her tears finally shed for me. I forced a relieved smile. Can't hide it anymore. I used all my strength, raised my blood-covered hand, gently placed it on her trembling cheek. Ruyan. I looked at her, gasping heavily. Each breath brought out more blood bubbles. So I stained your dress. My hand fell limply. The whole world sank into endless darkness before my eyes. Darkness engulfed me like cold seawater. But in the endless darkness, my hearing was strangely sharp. I could feel myself lying on a cold operating cart, wheels rolling over the hospital corridor tiles, making a rapid rumbling sound. The pungent smell of disinfectant rushed into my nose. Defibrillator ready. Patient's blood pressure dropping. Excessive blood loss. Plus organ failure from advanced stomach cancer. Quick, adrenaline. The doctor's shouts, as if through a thick water film, unclear, and outside the heavy door of the emergency room, I heard Lin Hao's hoarse roar, and Lu Ruyan's uncontrollable sobbing. What are you crying for? What right do you have to cry? Lin Hao's voice was filled with rage. With a bang, it seemed like he threw something hard against the wall. Lin Hao, let me in. Please, let me see him. Lu Ruyan's voice trembled uncontrollably, with humble pleading. Why? Why did he get stomach cancer? Why did he take that car for me? Why? Lu Ruyan, do you really think he's that gold-digging scumbag? Lin Hao's cold laugh was uglier than crying. Then came the static of a recording. Lin Hao played the recording on his phone. That was 3 years ago. I was sitting on the balcony in the cold wind, gritting my teeth as I said those words to Lin Hao. I'm going to cheat. I'm going to let Ruyan see me in bed with another woman. If I don't leave, she'll die in this quagmire with me. Only by making her think I'm scum will she truly let go and go back to her own world. Every word in the recording, like a knife piercing through the emergency room door, and shattering Lu Ruyan's world. Dead silence outside the door. Only Lu Ruyan's heavy, gasping like a dying animal. Miss Lu, President Su never betrayed you. Another timid female voice spoke. It was Su Wan. Here are the transfer records from back then. President Su gave me 50,000 to act in that scene with him. At the engagement party, he gave me another 500,000. That day at the hotel, we didn't even take off our clothes. After he drove you away, he threw up blood alone over the toilet. For the past half year, with his last 6 months of life, using 5 million in capital with 10 times leverage, he fought desperately in the capital market. He stayed up day and night, coughing up blood, staining the trash can red. He bought the Lu family's debt to force you to take charge. Set up those business traps, all to pave a path for you before he died. A queen's path no one could shake. Lin Hao's voice was choked, unable to speak clearly. Lu Ruyan, every chip in your hand was bought with Qingzi's life. No, impossible, this isn't true. Lu Ruyan's murmur was full of extreme brokenness. Then a heart-wrenching scream. Su Qing. That sound was too tragic, as if her soul was being torn apart. I lay on the operating table. A warm tear slid from the corner of my eye. Howzy, you bastard. Why did you tell her? I worked so hard to make her hate me, to give her armor to lie. You ripped the truth open bloody. How is she supposed to lie with that guilt? The heart monitor let out a piercing long beep. Heart stopped. Prepare to SOC. My body was thrown up by the electric current, and fell heavily. Once, twice, 3 times. But I knew my body was a hollow, riddled shell. Couldn't hold on to life. Doctor, I used my last bit of strength, opened my eyes slightly, my dry lips moved, let out a faint, breathy voice. Don't waste your effort, let me see him. Surgeon, the doctor looked at me, his hands stopped, his eyes were red, and he finally sighed, dropped his hands weakly. Call the family. The emergency room door was pushed open. Lu Ruyan stumbled in. She was wearing that white dress stained with my blood. Her hair was a mess. Her face was as pale as a corpse. Seeing me lying in a pool of blood, covered in tubes, her legs gave way. She fell to her knees with a thud by my bed. Su Qing, Su Qing. She reached out trembling to hug me, but was afraid of hurting me. She could only grip my cold, bony hand tightly. Tears poured onto the back of my hand like a dam breaking. You're a liar. You're a complete, utter liar. She buried her face in my palm, crying uncontrollably. How could you do this to me? What right do you have to decide for me? I don't want some damn queen. I don't want billions. I just want you to lie. Please, Su Qing, please lie. Oku, I'll take you for treatment. We'll go abroad. We'll. I forced a faint smile, gently held her fingers back. Silly girl, stop crying. If you keep crying, you won't be pretty. I turned to look at Lin Hao, standing at the door with red eyes. Lin Hao understood, held back tears, and stepped forward, placed 2 thick documents in front of Lu Ruyan. One was the full equity transfer of global capital, that billion-dollar empire. The other was the unconditional ownership agreement for the Lu family's assets. I looked at her, my vision starting to blur. I could only rely on instinct to hold on to my last breath. Ruyan, sign it. I won't sign. I'd rather die than sign. Lu Ruyan shook her head frantically, pushing the documents away desperately. Su Qing, don't think you can brush me off with this stuff. If you dare to die, I'll donate all this money, and then die with you. listen to me. I suddenly raised my voice, but it triggered a violent cough. Blood kept spilling from the corner of my mouth. I'll sign, just stop talking. She was terrified, frantically wiping the blood from my mouth with her sleeve. Tears lie broken pearls. I'll do whatever you say. Just don't leave me. Watching her sign her name, the last stone in my heart finally fell. So good. My girl finally got back everything that was hers. From now on, no one in this world can bully her. No one can make her drink at parties, or make her suffer. If Lop is a quagmire, this time, I finally lifted you to the clouds. I raised my hand with difficulty, gently wiped the tears from her cheek. Ruyin. I looked at her, as if seeing 3 years ago. That girl in the faded pink apron, smiling brightly at me while holding pork rib soup. The big house is bought, on the 3rd ring road. My voice grew softer, like a breeze that could fade away any moment. Go get a golden retriever. The moment my words fell, I felt the hands of death, which had been choking me, finally tightened completely. I watched her face slowly blur and fade in my vision, until it sank into eternal darkness. My hand slipped weakly from her cheek, and fell heavily onto the white sheet. The green line on the heart monitor stretched into a straight line that would never rise again. Su Qing. Lu Ruyin's desperate, piercing cry, echoed long in the cold emergency room, as if trying to tear this world apart. But my Shitari finally came to an end here. My consciousness became very light, as if turning into a weightless breeze. I didn't go to heaven or hell, but drifted in this world that belonged to her. Time lost meaning in my perception. Half a year had passed in the blink of an eye. The business world changed rapidly. The once bankrupt Lu family, after swallowing the Li Group, and taking over global capital, had become an unshakable giant in the gold circle, and even across all of Asia. And Lu Ruyin became the capital queen, standing at the top of the pyramid. She was iron-fisted and decisive. Anyone who tried to challenge her, was mercilessly crushed by her, under the wheels of capital. She lived exactly as I had planned for her, even stronger and more dazzling than I imagined. Everyone feared and admired her. But today was our 4th anniversary. She cancelled all international meetings and top social events, took off that custom business suit, removed her delicate, cold makeup. She drove alone to the outskirts, where there was an old residential building. She pushed open the door of that rental apartment, less than 40 square meters. The furnishings were exactly the same as 3 years ago, not a speck of dust. She tied on that faded pink apron, walked into the tiny kitchen, washed the ribs, cut the corn, lit the fire, and simmered. Soon, the familiar smell of pork rib soup wafted from the clay pot. Steam blurred her face. She ladled out 2 full bowls of soup, set them on the wobbly folding table. Across the table, she placed a clean set of bowls and chopsticks. She just sat quietly at the table, staring at the empty chair opposite. Su Qing, your favorite corn and pork rib soup is ready, she said softly, forcing a bright smile. But tears fell in big drops into her soup bowl, making ripples. Go wash your hands, hurry, the soup will get cold. The sunset shone through the narrow window, casting her shadow long and lonely. She had a billion-dollar empire, had supreme power, but she had imprisoned her heart forever in this rental apartment. Less than 40 square meters, filled with the smell of pork rib soup, imprisoned in a world without me. I turned into a breeze and passed through the window, gently blowing the stray hairs by her ear. Don't wait, Ruyin. My lop has turned to ashes, and you must be safe and sound.